Thank you so much. My name's Griff, and I'm going to talk about something that's kind of complicated, but I'm going to make it super easy because it's not really complicated. It's just there's a real deep, dark secret in the DAO space. You know, I've been DAOing since 2015. I've seen the DAO space evolve, and yet almost every DAO has a technocracy. It's like a dirty, dark secret in DAOs. There's a small group of people in most DAOs who have the most legitimacy, and they have the decision-making power to kind of veto things. And even it's more of a social situation. We have like the on-chain decentralization. It's there. But the social and cultural decentralization is very difficult with the way that we're starting DAOs today. So I'm going to go. So this is Kevin Milwaukee. He's one of my idols for sure. I love this man. And he's in a tough spot because he started a company in 2017 called Gitcoin. And then they decided to DAO like 3 or 4 years later. So that's tough. That makes it really hard because now he was CEO. He's in a situation where he has a Schelling point for decisions. If he likes the idea, it'll work. You know, it'll pass. He made this great forum post the other day, maybe about a month ago. It says, DAOs don't have CEOs. His entity does, but DAOs don't. There's no legitimacy in authority, and control is a liability if we're going to go where I think we're going. I, of course, remain completely committed to Gitcoin DAO and its mission, but in what ways does tactical retreat from being involved in operations and decision-making of the DAO serve the greater strategic direction of the DAO? He was the CEO. He started a strategy. If he retreats from that strategy, does that add value to the DAO? How can I and others at Gitcoin holders begin to separate ourselves from the DAO such that we create space that allows the next generation of DAO leaders to emerge within and around Gitcoin DAO? How can we do so in such a way that if they fail, we are there to pick them up and reorient things? I've actually hung out at Kevin Milwaukee's house and met his kids, so he's a great parent, and that's why I think he brings this analogy so strong. I can't help but have the parent in me when asked, how can we give them the psychological safety to try and experiment and learn, but also not make them complacent? He's in a tough spot. He's the father of Gitcoin DAO. We have to start DAOs in a way where they don't have fathers. We have to start the cultural decentralization early, but that's not in the pattern that we have today. He's in a tough spot because he is part of the Gitcoin DAO technocracy. And it's not always a technocracy, even though he's a dev, it's really a social and cultural centralization and decision-making power, right? Technocracy is the deep, dark secret of DAOs that no one wants to talk about. It's our dirty laundry. And there's a main reason for that. It's the just DAO it approach. So I'm going to show you what I would call is the just DAO it pattern that we tend to use when we start DAOs. So first is the spark. Someone has an idea, let's do a DAO. Okay, great. And then they go in and they recruit their friends. They recruit people who maybe fill in the gaps that they have. If they're not a technical person, they bring in a technical person. Maybe they bring in a community manager. They build a team of like 3 to 7, right? And then that team goes and designs the DAO. They like, hey, how do we want to exit to the community? How do we want to do everything? Like, what's our mission, vision, values? What are we going to sell to a larger group to get them involved? And then they exit to the community, either through an ICO or an airdrop or whatever. They give tokens to people. And before they're giving those tokens, they're like, here's the idea, here's the plan, here's the strategic direction of our DAO. And we thought about it, we went into a back room and decided all these things. And then they just DAO it. Now there are these like leaders within the DAO that were there at the beginning to decide how things are going to go. And then like, you know, maybe other people might have ideas that like are pretty good, but they're probably not going to pass if that core group that started it, the founders of the DAO, don't agree. They can, before it goes up to a vote, it's vetoed beforehand because everyone feels like, from a social, cultural dimension, they kind of need validation from the core team first before bringing these ideas. This is just what happens. I wish it weren't that way, but it is. And I actually think that's okay. Like, I actually just moved this slide here because of the last talk, right? He's talking about Ape DAO. If you're doing Ape DAO, just DAO it. If your goal is just to make money, who cares, okay? Go out there, create a token, sell some token, boom, yeah, you made money, and that's the goal. That was what everyone cared about. It's a great selling point, and actually, it's a lot easier to be decentralized if that's your only goal. But if you're not trying to build Ape DAO, if you actually wanted to support the Bored Ape Yacht Club, you probably, like, I think it was like in Ape DAO, 86% of people voted to liquidate 160 Bored Apes. Like, this is bad. This is not good for Ape DAO. Or it's good for Ape DAO and the individuals in Ape DAO, but it's not good for the Bored Ape Yacht Club community, right? Because they don't care. They're in it to make money, and you can just DAO it if that's what you care about. But if you want to go fast, go alone. Make that small group, make some decisions, go forward. It's great. But if you want to go far, go together. If you're trying to create a mission-driven DAO, right? You're trying to solve a real problem and create value for society, just DAOing it is not the way. And this is because I consider this like, I like this analogy with a game of chess. Imagine that, like, you started a game of chess and you move some pieces, right? And you're the core team, you move some pieces. And then you're just like, hey, actually, now we have a community, so hey, how about you guys make the decisions? Or let's collectively make these decisions. Well, you had an advantage. You were part of the strategic planning at the get-go. Everyone's going to want to know what your thoughts were. It's just natural. You can't avoid it. You started the game of chess. You moved the pieces in a certain way. You reacted to external circumstances, other player, and now the pieces are where they are because of something you thought about. Now, if you pass that to a community and say, why don't you guys vote on it, right? If you come in and say, actually, we should do this, they're all going to agree with you because you had that advantage. You were there at the beginning. Or if you just step away, you're going to watch and you're going to be like, but that's not what I would have done. No, don't do that. Okay, I'm not going to say anything. That's literally the situation that we're in the just out approach. But if you start early and let the community make the first move, now we're talking. Now they're in on it, right? And this is really important for the common stack. So we're big fans of Elinor Ostrom, and our goals are to create microeconomies around public goods. We want to make public goods a win-win situation so that we can actually create value in society, and the people who are creating value for society can be rewarded for it. And that is a very mission-driven, values-driven approach. So we need mission-driven, values-driven approaches for DAOs. And this is why we're pushing this idea of collaborative economics. And I think Elinor Ostrom really nails it. She has these 8 principles that are worth reading. It's 8 sentences. If you want to make a long-term DAO, read those 8 sentences, please. I'm not going to read them today because I'm short on time. But I love this quote from her. It really nails why DAOs have the potential to disrupt so many industries. There is no reason to believe that bureaucrats, politicians, nor the economic technocracy. So I actually added that part, right? There's no reason to believe that bureaucrats, politicians, nor the economic technocracy, no matter how well-meaning, are better at solving problems than the people on the spot who have the strongest incentive to get the solution right. And this is because the people on the ground know. They are there, right? They get the direct feedback. And if there's a small group in their ivory tower making decisions, they're missing that direct feedback. We want ideas and economic decisions and like social decisions to come from the edges. This will just work better. And Elinor Ostrom, who studied commons management projects that lasted over 100 years and continue to provide their value, she did this meta-study and derived all of this data from seeing who could create public services without government's support that lasted over 100 years. This wisdom, she won a Nobel Prize for this, first woman ever to win a Nobel Prize in economics. This is really groundbreaking stuff, and we need to integrate that kind of stuff, those kind of ideas into DAOs. Let's go. So our first collaboratively designed group was the Token Engineering Commons. So the Common Stack, whose mission is to spin up lots of these microeconomies around public goods. We wanted to make it easy for us because it's kind of a token engineering heavy approach. So we started the Token Engineering Commons. Well, we didn't start it. We partnered with the token engineering community to really build this pattern out and try out this pattern. And so Token Engineering Commons actually started with me, Michael Zargam, and Jeff Emmett in 2019 with the spark, right? In a collaborative economics approach, there's no way to avoid the spark, right? It's still going to start off centralized. You're going to have someone who has the idea, let's build a DAO around token engineering. Okay, that happens, right? But we don't want the technocracy. So we have to be, even though every crypto economy has a technocracy, right? Like who picked 32 Ether? I don't remember the vote. Was it just Vitalik and his buddies? I don't know, right? Like there's always, no matter how decentralized a protocol is, there is a technocracy, and there always has been. But we wanted to change that with Token Engineering Commons, and this is why we built this collaborative economics framework. So it took us years. We didn't just start. We didn't just DAO it, right? We wanted to go together. So even though, the second step after we had the idea, we wanted to start by exiting to the community. So we created, let's go to the next one. We created a reputation system that would reward labor and expertise. And this is really important. It's really easy to reward capital in DAOs, right? People who put in capital, they get in tokens. So simple. Rewarding labor and expertise is also really important. These are important inputs into actually solving your problems. So we developed a reputation system that we called impact hours using praise, basically like what I did at the beginning of this talk. You just say, oh, these guys did great work. Someone in the DAO in a decentralized way said, these people did good work. They get points that turn into reputation tokens, right? And in that way, we could reward labor and expertise in a very qualitative way. And also, with capital, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You want the money, right? But when you're initializing the economy, you want to be careful. You don't want to just let anyone give you money and have voice in the DAO because there's so many people that want to use money to make more money. It's a very adversarial environment. So if you have to be value aligned. You have to make sure that the only people who give you money and therefore get power and voice in your economy, you don't want the people from ApeDAO being in your mission-driven economy, okay? Like your purpose-driven economy. You want people who actually care about the value you're going to produce, and you say, you guys can give us money, right? And because you're giving us the early money, you're going to get a lot of voice. But it's okay because you are aligned with our values. So we created this tool called, this module or this system called the Trusted Seed. The Trusted Seed is a curated group. It's actually a legal Swiss entity that provides minimal legal protection for its members. But the main purpose is to protect DAOs from capital exploitation. So if the members of the Trusted Seed have been hand curated. We look at every single person who joins. We look at their LinkedIn. We looked at their Twitter. Say, this person looks mission-driven, value-driven, or maybe we even know them. It's like, yes, this person is not here to exploit DAOs. They're here to actually provide value, so they can be in the Trusted Seed. If it's airdrop, degen on Twitter, they don't get in, So the Trusted Seed is this special group of value-driven people, and I think the DAOist is very welcome to this. So, well, I'll tell you to apply later. But we set up a second token, the C-Stack token, for the Trusted Seed, and you have to have so many C-Stack tokens. The more C-Stack tokens you have, the more capital you can put into DAOs. Basically, is the way it's structured. Okay, let's go next. So now that we have this token, now that we've exited to the community right away, before making any decisions, the only decisions I would say that are made in that centralized way, number one is the actual general purpose mission, vision, values, like without the details, just kind of like a broad approach, and probably the name. Because it's really hard to change a name once it's happened. So like the DAO was supposed to name itself later, and it wasn't going to happen. You know, it was stuck being called the DAO, and so I learned a lesson there. I'm imparting it to you guys. It's okay to be centralized when you pick the name. But when you actually want to detail the mission, vision, values, then you want that to be coming from the edges. So in the collaborative economics, now that you have a token system, in our case, in the TEC, there was 2 tokens. There were 2 reputation tokens. One that quantified labor and expertise, and the other that quantified the potential of being a capital investor, right? Now that we have these 2 token systems, they can actually decide the mission, vision, values. Instead of it happening in a closed room, we let anyone propose mission, vision, values. Obviously, it was going to be something around token engineering and how to go, and we gave space for it. It wasn't homework for anyone that wants to do it. As a community, we made space. We did Miro board exercises and brainstorming things, and we got signals from stakeholders about what mattered in token engineering space. And then people wrote their mission. They proposed their own mission, vision, value statement. And to be inclusive, we made sure that we did it in 2 rounds. So in the first round, anyone could propose a mission, vision, values, but we're really looking at kind of the core thought pattern behind it. And then the second round, in between the first and second round, we had a professional editor equalize the mission, vision, value statements so that people who were not native English speakers could participate, and it wouldn't be a dock on them if their concepts were valid. And that way, they're standardized, right, of quality. And then we had a final round of voting, and boom, we have the mission, vision, values coming from the edges, coming from anyone who wanted to propose. They were judged on their quality. So next. So now we have reputation systems, we have mission, vision, values, collectively designed. Now it's like, okay, how do you want a DAO? There's all these options, and there's more options. Like I don't even have Zodiac up here. You know, for the Token Engineering Commons, we didn't have to do this because we're partnered with the Commons Stack, and the Commons Stack has the Commons approach with an augmented bonding curve and conviction voting, blah, blah, blah. So we didn't have to survey the economic options, but in a normal collaborative economics thing, you would want to have a vote on which pattern you want to apply. Once you've decided the pattern, then you want to actually have a way for people to play with it, right? So we created a dashboard. We spent a lot of time building dashboards on allowing the economic design to be achievable and accessible to non-technical people. If we're going to avoid the technocracy, we have to include non-technical people. So we built these dashboards that would make it easy so you could be like, okay, what happens if I just pick this random number? Oh, this, right? Oh, here's some educational material that I can read through and understand things. Okay, cool. As long as you're curious about it, you could participate and actually deploy your own economic system with following the Common Stack model. So next. Thanks. And then it was party time. Again, if you really want to do collaborative economics, if you really want to allow participation, you have to make space. And you have to make it fun, right? It can't be homework. Okay, everyone, go do your homework. Tell us how to DAO. No, it's got to be a party. Acid Laser made these right here, and I think Chewy helped make them too. So major props to Acid Laser. Praise. Yeah, so we hold space for parties. In the parties, people could propose ideas, and everything was okay, right? But that's not how you really get something done, right? It's very welcoming. Oh, man, great proposal. Yeah, right? But come on, some are better than others. And that's why the next step after parties, after holding space to educate people, I also want to give props to, you still need leaders, right? So you need this the core group of people who would be the technocracy, right? So Chewy led param parties, Mitch led param parties, Lauren led param parties, I led param parties, a bunch of people were leading param parties. That would have been the technocracy. But the technocracy all of a sudden instead turns into the teachers. and they teach the community how to make proposals and encourage them to make good proposals in the parties, and then pit them against each other in a fight to the death in the debates, right? So you have the lovey-dovey welcoming parties, but then in the end, you have to choose one solution. And so you have these basically political debates around which strategy you want to pursue. And so the thing that's interesting is you're not like, oh, this one is better than that one. That's not really the case. You have already decided your mission, vision, values. And so your economic design is actually the strategy that you want to use to achieve your mission, right? So now it's like, which economic strategy do you want to apply to achieve that mission? And that's the real debate. How do you want to relate labor, expertise, and capital in your economic design? And so you have the debates, and we really liked this 2-vote system where it's like anyone can propose, but there's a lot of bandwidth there, like to vote on like 80 different proposals of economic systems. So you break it down into one round of voting, and then we use quadratic voting, which is a huge benefit of being able to do using reputation tokens. You can use quadratic voting. And then for the next round of voting, we liked ranked choice voting, and there'd be just 3 to 5 options that people would have to understand, and then they could actually participate in the vote. So the real vote, it's like you have the curation vote, and then you have the real vote as the second round. And after this process, we ended up with a few different economic designs. We actually did 4 rounds of voting, and if we could do it again, it would have been 10 rounds of voting to kind of cut scope around the economic system to make it like smaller pieces that were more digestible in the designs. So kind of like how we did the MVV first, then we did the hatch, and then we did the whole economic system with bonding curve, conviction voting, and all this stuff. It would have been easier to kind of build on it. So it's like, yeah, we do the hatch, and then we do the bonding curve, and then we do conviction voting, and then that's how we would have done it, and making it more smaller, digestible pieces. But when you're done here, the biggest side effect of this collaborative economics approach is cultural resilience, especially to technocracy. Because now, the whole community just had fun for months learning the system, right? Learning the approach that the way you're going to DAO. And now if a technocracy or a technocratic leader, a charismatic leader who has good intentions, comes in and is trying to be controlling, the community understands the system. They spent months designing it. They were there for each move of the chess pieces, right? They were part of the decision making, the strategic decision making. So now they can actually push back on technocratic leaders, because you can say, well, actually, yeah, that's a good argument, but I have a standing. I know what happened, and I think it could be different. I actually think the way that this guy is saying is better, right? And then you can have true debate. You have an educated populace. If we want democracy, we need an educated democracy, and that's what collaborative economics brings you. So this is the common stack approach. I'm out of time. I really believe in the power of DAOs to change the way that we coordinate around public goods. Imagine if you could invest in nonprofit causes, right? This is the potential of DAOs. And not only do we avoid this the tragedy of the commons because of sacrifice, right? Nonprofits rely on sacrifice, donations, and volunteering and all these things. We can create a win-win system, but even better, we can give people on the ground a voice. Right now, the nonprofit space is completely capital controlled. Donors say what they want to donate to, and that's what gets funded, and that's what gets done. If we can do this right, we can give the people on the edges, the people who are on the ground, actually making an impact. They can have a voice in what is in the direction of the system. And that's something new that only DAOs can bring. If you want to be a part of the Common Stack movement, right, the best way is to apply to the Trusted Seed. commonstack.org/apply. If you become a member of the Trusted Seed, you get an advantage where you get to basically be you get to invest capital into these early stage economies, microeconomies, because we trust you. And that's a huge leg up. So please join the Trusted Seed. And also, tomorrow, we'll have a party. Woo! Definitely come to this. It's going to be so much fun. We have, because I also, Common Stack, Giveth, Dappno, blah, blah, blah. So just got to shill Giveth a little bit. Come to this party. There's going to be awesome music, awesome food. It's the end of we get to celebrate the DAOist in completion, and it's all free, sponsored by Giveth. So definitely don't forget to come to the party. Thank you all.